ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track, and ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
Da, 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 da! You sound insane. You realize that? Yeah. The whole world gone crazy! Seriously? Yeah. It's showtime.
Hey, man, fam. It is ya boy, RB Richard the Bizarden. Classic me. Yeah, whole new nickname there. Gonna open up a whole lot of brand opportunities. I'm here. If you hear my voice first, you know it's probably one you should turn off, but don't, because I've got all kinds of fun stuff planned. I've got my main man, and I mean that in the most Ahmad Rashad way, as I always say, Brian Gill, right here next to me.
What's up? But what did you say your name was? I got
Richard Bizarden. Oh. Yeah, nailed it.
Okay,
it's a little Snoop Dogg.
Hosting,
it's a little early 2000 Snoop Dogg mixed with like carnival stuff. And we have from the Geek 101 podcast with us, because nothing says geek culture like the farewell. We've got our old friend Ariel. Ariel, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, Richard. I'm good, Brian. I'm glad to be fulfilling my contractual obligation for resident Asian guest.
Nope, it's true. And I regret making you get the tattoo, but I think it holds. And Ariel, I'm honest to God, one of the great thrills of my life to talk to you tonight, because as I told you before, you and I are always on not the same episode. I think this is like the second episode ever we've been on together. And so we're going to get in some real mischief tonight. We're going to really stir the pot on the... Oh, wait, it's the farewell. Okay, well, awesome. So, Brian, before we get started on everything...
Yes.
And I have so many plans, guys. It is going to be lit. Did I sound cool and young? Okay.
So cool.
Very nice.
So youthy.
Right. I nailed it. Totally nailed it. But, Brian, before we get into any of that, I know you have some... I think it's pronounced. I'm trying to be hip again. Shootouts. Mm-hmm, yeah, cool.
Mm-hmm, yeah, shootouts in
yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm
I've got a few shout outs we'll hit real quick here, and then we'll get straight into this review of the farewell. These are the names of some incredible, beautiful people who have joined our VIP club recently. If you want more information on that, if you'd like to join yourself, you want to go to madaboutmoviespodcast.com/VIP. Subscribe there, and you'll get access to all kinds of bonus content, throwback episodes, shenanigans, polls, all kinds of fun stuff. And a question we do get very often is, if I sign up for the VIP feed now, will I have access to all of the throwbacks that you've been doing over the last 2 years? And the answer is yes. As soon as you sign up, you will immediately gain access to a plethora of episoets.
And I'm a little wild on
can't get enough of us here. Go over there. Yeah,
I'm saucy.
Those get a little dicey sometimes, and it's it's a fun. It's a fun, sexy time. Let's
speak for yourself.
But very quickly, some names of our newest VIPs, and big thank yous to Allie B, to Everett Clark,
respect,
Nick Taylor, Kyle Chandler, Kelly Tyler, Danny Weiser, who's local, shout out Danny, Josh Moulter, Will Fawcett, Justin Riggio, Sean Lovegrove, Jessica Guilroy, Thaddeus Dronsky, which is an awesome name. Super into that.
Thaddeus Dronsky. That's my fantasy team now coming up.
Yeah, seriously. And newest member of the I, which is the highest tier of rewards within the Mad About Movies VIP Club. Big thanks to Mr. Marcus Page.
Nice. I respect each and every one of you. I like a few of you. And I appreciate you guys joining the VIP. No, this is awesome. This is I'm very proud of the Viper content we put out there, and we won't bore this old main feed episode with any more of that. But if you are looking for, I as a podcast consumer, August is a dry time. And I fall asleep with a podcast in my ear every night because I love brain cancer. And I'm going to definitely get that one day with all these Bluetooth devices that I sleep with for 8 hours in my ear. But but August is tough. I can't even fall asleep at night because I have no pods. It's kind of everyone's on vacation and stuff. So if you're looking for something to kind of fill that void during this awful dry month of content before everything kind of kicks up again with, the Oscar award season starts, sports kind of kick back in, except for a few, sadist baseball fans out there. Sports kind of kick back in the fall. It's a good time to subscribe to the VIP feed. We've got, like Brian said, 2 years. We've been doing an extra show a week, if not more, for 2 years. So that's 100+ episodes, I think, on the VIP feed. Plus, there's sports shows that we've done on there. There's AMAs that we do on there all the time that are really fun. I think some of our best episodes over the last few months have been those AMAs. They're really silly and goofy, and we love bits, and there's a lot of bits on those. So I encourage you all to sign up for that. It's $4 a month. That's $1 a week. It helps us not only do that show, but this show, because believe it or not, it eats up quite a bit of our time doing this, especially Brian, who's weirdly obsessive and he spreads every tweet we get, he puts in a spreadsheet, and then he pivot tables it. He just kind of rubs his nipples and stares at it. It's very upsetting for
Got to keep track of the likes, the retweets.
Very weird,
comments.
but it's a passion.
It's an algorithm.
Yeah, no, but seriously, we work really hard on this show, and by we, I of course mean Kent and Brian, and the VIP patronage certainly helps. But enough about that. We should get into this review. This is a really interesting movie, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah,
we're good.
big time.
All right. Well, thank you for listening.
Great.
Ariel,
Thanks for being here, Ariel. Appreciate
you
it, man.
are the man for showing up. No. No, this is a really interesting movie that has. I love when this happens. This, I work in my other life. I work in like sales and marketing, and it controls our world. It controls our world. These algorithms and things, and then something comes every once in a while, sort of against the grain, and feels really organic the way it gains momentum in the zeitgeist, and that's a word has German origins. And so it's a really interesting. I don't know what that meant. I was just trying to sound smart. So anyway, this is a movie that I think really kind of had a slow burn at the box office. Got some buzz on social media and really earned its own momentum, which is like kind of an old school cool thing, and I love it. And it's a really interesting, cool movie, and I can't wait to hear your opinions on it. But we'll swing it around to Brian first, and then we'll go to you, Ariel, as you are our honored guest, on your general thoughts. Both about kind of the farewell as a film, but also as it's kind of having a cultural moment. And I think Ariel, you'll speak to this far more eloquently than I can because, I'm a boring white guy, but I think Asian Americans are really having this great cultural moment too, which is across a lot of different mediums. And I'd love to talk about that because I think that's great and true. So, Brian, we'll go to you first as a white guy. but first, let's talk to another white guy. Let's not go crazy.
White guys first and foremost. Go on.
Absolutely. Okay. No.
That is the motto of podcasts.
No.
I think.
Let's
Conan's on board, and now we're a thing.
Yeah, we did it, guys. White guys, Irish guys did it. No, let's go to Brian on thoughts on this sort of happening. I'll shut up soon, I promise. And Ariel, you will have very eloquent, smart things to say, and we want to build to that.
Yeah.
So, Brian, you go first.
Yeah, I've been pumped about this. So I hate this kind of. Sounds like I'm about to say this kind of movie. I don't like limited release. I've ranted about that significantly over the years. It drives me crazy that we do this bit with, I don't know, like 100 movies a year that should be seen by a lot of people, and we just say, well, only the people in LA, New York, and for some reason Minneapolis could possibly understand this film. We got to make sure it starts there and gets good word of mouth, and then moves
Look,
to
as a
to
son
the
of
heathens
Minnesotans,
amongst.
how dare you?
Yeah. It's so weird. It's always so weird. It's like this movie's showing in 4 theaters, 2 in LA, 1 in New York, and 1 just outside St. Paul. It's odd. I don't know.
That's right, Minnesota.
It's just a very.
Can I give you a one-word
it,
answer and you'll understand completely?
Sure,
Prince.
absolutely. There it is. Yeah, but
Nope. No argument.
we're on the other side of
No
that. Right?
argument.
I don't know.
No argument.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So I don't like that tact by independent film studios and the like and big studios. It bugs me. It bugs me way more at awards time because we're trying desperately to see like every single movie that we can get to and do episodes on them, everything that's going to matter and all this sort of stuff. And there's just so many times where we're like, well, I'd love to do an episode on that. I won't have access to it for a month, and it's kind of a beating. I do think that there are occasions when that strategy is a smart one, is the right one, and it pays off. And this is one of a great example of that. I don't know. I mean, this movie, The Farewell, has made like $12 million. I'm assuming the budget is about a quarter of that. It's not an expensive film to make, so it's definitely pretty profitable. The point of movies like this is not, though, really to make a profit as much as to get some eyes on it, get the right eyes on it, get people talking about smaller movies, and hope that it kind of catches on in a smaller way. Like, we obviously, The Farewell is not competing with Spider-Man or something to be a big film. Regardless, I think this is one of the few, for me, examples of doing it right. Going through the festival circuit, building some buzz that direction, and then kind of doing a slow rollout to this. So I think this movie, for us here in Dallas-Fort Worth, it hit last week, I think, maybe the week before. It's been in my theater for I think 2 weeks, but that was quite a while after it had been in the 3 major markets: LA, New York, and of course Minneapolis, St. Paul. So, and I think it's worked. It kind of built some buzz. The trailer, I saw the trailer a couple of times. I don't know about you guys, in movies that I maybe wouldn't have expected to see this kind of trailer in. A small movie trailer before. I think I may have seen it before, like Toy Story or something. It was a strange. Anyway, I think they did a great job of building some momentum for this one moving forward, and I was very excited to see it once we finally could. I saw it this afternoon, and I really dug it. It is touching and beautiful and very heartfelt and real, and I think it put on display how much talent and kind of star potential Awkwafina has, which is not a thing I would have guessed. A year, did that Ocean's 8 movie, was that last year or the year before? I don't remember. It doesn't matter. Yeah. What may not have guessed that in that movie. She's great in Crazy Rich Asians, and then has, she's kind of popping, and she's very, very good in this film, and shows, I think, significant range too. But the film itself is really beautiful and sweet and heartbreaking in ways. And I very much enjoyed it. I thought it was very well done and touched on some serious themes, but with a bit of levity. And it was a very enjoyable theater experience, given that the material, right? Like I guess I kind of expected this was going to be a little more, gosh, I'm just weeping and I kind of hate my life because it's so good, but gosh, I was just sitting here bawling, and it wasn't quite that way, and I kind of appreciated it. I thought it was very well done on that front, and enjoyed it quite a bit. But more than anything, I'm interested in getting your take on it, Ariel. So give us your general thoughts, but kind of talk about the culture and the way that this is, did this work for you and all that good stuff?
Sure. So the first thing, I think there are 2 main things that need to be talked about when it comes to The Farewell, directed by Lulu Wang. And I think the first one we'll get in general thoughts, and the second thing, if we want to get into spoilers, we'll talk about that. But there's a great article in IndieWire, which is somewhat of an interview with Lulu Wang, where she is saying like she tried to get this movie made, and Hollywood executives and producers were just like, "Hey, we either need a white female lead, or we need a white male lead as a boyfriend who goes with her, or we need one of the cousins to be white," and she just kept like trying to open doors, and everyone was saying like, "Hey, you need white people in this film." And if you watch the movie, you're just like, dude, there's
Brian
no
and I
place.
talked about that at the meetings. You were there.
So you guys shut her out first. That's why I didn't open in Dallas.
It's a committee. It's a committee. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure. I mean, yeah. No, we were at the meetings. White guy meetings.
Not those kind of meetings. Just to
No,
clarify,
there's not.
I want to be very
No,
clear
they're not
about.
Klan. They're just like, it's just us, and there's like Fox News in the background, and we
It's
just
more like
kinda
a crew.
We look
not a
at
clan.
stuff, and we're like, we're doing this, right?
Yeah.
Good job. We all high five. It's a lot of. And then we
Yeah.
draft fantasy football players.
Right. So like, I think what's important is a lot of people are going to look at this film and be like, "Hey, look at this Asian movie." But like when you watch The Farewell, it doesn't have Chinese drama or Korean drama sensibilities. I mean, for goodness sake, there's like a Tarantino walk in the film.
Yeah.
Right? Like that
for
gets
sure.
but
I assume that was derivative of an Asian thing. I mean, I don't mean to be pushed back. I just assume he stole that from an original.
You know what? He very well might have, because he likes to put white people in Asian settings. I mean,
That was my thinking. I was like, oh, that's Tarantino. But I bet he stole that from some Korean filmmaker that I don't know because I'm stupid.
right. I mean, the whole Tarantino's whole shtick is that he takes things from other films and then
Yeah.
he like puts this really like unique script to it, and that's not a bad thing. It's just what he does.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
It's a cool
But-
thing. He's a mixed media
Right.
artist in a weird way. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I liked about The Farewell is that it's a uniquely American, or let's say uniquely Western experience that our main character is going through, and so you can't like market this to China and say, look at this Chinese movie, because like they just don't like they won't understand, right? It's like us watching a movie about like the Hong Kong protests and rebellions. Like, sure, we could watch a great movie. Sure. Like, I just have no idea what they're rebelling about. I don't have much nuance to that. And there was a video I'd like to reference that Simu Liu had to like react to, who's going to play Shang-Chi, the upcoming Marvel superhero, where like these Chinese people were like asked on camera by this stupid, blog, YouTube video that was just like, do you think this guy is handsome? And every single Chinese person in that video was just like, well, he's like American handsome. He's not Chinese handsome. And any, American woman will look at Simu Liu and just, look at you in disgust and response and just tell you he's a very handsome man. It's just, so this movie is all about like cultural differences, and I guess we'll get deeper into that. And so it really, I think if you're paying attention and if you're listening and you're listening to the audience, and when they're laughing, when they're crying, the Asian audience, it's just a really touching film, and it's not about what you think it's about, right? Everybody thinks it's about the grandmother, but it's not. It's about Billy. It's about her experience, and I just think it was done. I think the script was simple and brilliant. I think Awkwafina, depending on like the field, she could get like an Oscar nomination. I think there were some really great parts.
So too.
I just think the movie was so good, and it's so weird for me to say this, right? But it's a life experience that I've had, and I don't watch movies like that. Like, there are literally thousands upon thousands of, for lack of a better word, white American experiences. There are far less movies about Black American experiences, a few movies about Latino American experiences. Like, how many Asian American experience movies have you ever heard of? Because I haven't heard of any. And so for me to have this, along with something like Crazy Rich Asians, which ties into that a little bit, Always Be My Maybe on Netflix, which is, from a movie perspective, a very by the book rom-com. But from my perspective, the details of it make it an Asian American experience. So now I have 3 movies like this in the last 2 years.
Sure. Yeah.
But like,
It's like
it's
I don't know
crazy.
if you've heard the Aziz bit from like maybe
Wow,
his first
dude.
stand up or
Gosh,
second,
you
where he's
hate
like,
women,
I know,
clearly.
I'm really taking this down on
Wow.
a tough spot, but he talks about Slumdog Millionaire, and he was just like, wait, is this what it's like for white people? You're just
Yeah.
walking around like every movie is us. It's like he just names off Goodfellas, that's us,
Yeah.
you know, and just all this stuff. He's like, every movie except Slumdog Millionaire is us, you know, and that's yeah.
literally like
It's
that's literally
yeah.
how it feels.
No,
Uh,
absolutely, totally.
sure.
And as 2 white guys, we agree, and it's awesome. No, that's not true at all. No, it's great. I think that's a really beautiful thing, and I'm all for representation. We have like everyone's like stupid white people that are like no, but many of them listen, and we love you, but are like. Does everything have to have minorities? Yeah, it's like, yeah, maybe it should for a while because we've had, I don't know, the last 70 years of culture. So let's just balance it out for, I don't know, 5 years and we'll be good.
We just want like it's crazy because Asian people and everybody, we just want the ratio to be there, which is a 90 to 10 like ratio.
Totally.
And if you're including all people of color, it's closer to like 75-25, 70-30. Like I'd settle for that ratio of
As we
of,
should, man.
It's crazy. Like I'm not. Yeah, right. I'm not asking for Captain America to come out and be like
am.
Mexican. Like
I am. That'd be way cooler.
But yeah, Diego
no.
Luna as Captain America. Let's do it.
No, okay. Now, how dare you? And now I'm racist. I wasn't before, but you said that. No.
That was a deep cut. Mad
That
About
was a
Movies deep
strong
cut.
Mad About Movies. Mad About Captain America should have something called charisma. No, I think that's really cool. It's such an interesting thing. I think hopefully this keeps going and not to go on. I'm not making like a political statement. I think, but representation is really important. I mean, people, whether you're pro or anti, like these people exist. They have stories. I mean, oh my God, our entertainment should represent everybody. And I think there's this really cool moment going on right now, especially for Asian Americans over the last like 18 months. That's awesome because it's kind of it is a really interesting. It's a very diverse. I mean, when you say something like Asian, well, that only represents, I don't know, half the globe. So it's kind of silly, right, to say, oh, these are all, but we'll deal with what we can. I mean, there's a massive difference culturally between something like, an Indian film versus a Korean film versus a Japanese film, and but let's just take what we can. This kind of moment across a lot of culture where like Asians not only are having this moment, but like Asians are cool, which is great, like.
Shout outs to Keanu.
Yeah, Keanu. You take someone like David Chang, the chef, the Momofuku guy.
The chef, yeah.
He's got that show on Netflix, which is like a really cool show. Aziz before these allegations and whatever, but when Master of None was going, not only was that a great show, that was a really cool show. And there's this thing of like, yeah, you can be included, but only these certain races or certain types of people are cool. And like Asians have never really been a part of that. Whereas even African Americans, because of hip hop, which is such an important art form, have been cool for a little bit. Like Asians have always been excluded for that. Not to say that African Americans aren't horribly discriminated against and stuff, but I'm just saying they've been able to be cool since like 1988 or some stupid year. But like now I feel like it is in the last couple years, Brian, just as like an observing white guy. It's been like, oh, cool. Asians are, that's awesome. Like I'm all for this. And it's not like stupid. Not that they're stupid, but like, it's not like kung fu movies or something that's kind
exactly.
Right.
It's like,
it's a real life experience.
It's real life stuff, and I think that's awesome. And this movie is more important than that. And I want to talk about this movie on its own. I'm not trying to be insane here, but it is part of that movement, which I think is really awesome. So, okay, we put all that aside. So this movie, for me was really, really interesting. I texted Brian. So like, not to be a buzzkill. So my mom died 9 years ago yesterday. So good time to go see this movie today.
Exactly 9 years in one day.
Exactly 9 years in one day. Exactly though, that's important. The exactly is what counts. That's a whole different. I won't go into that. But Brian agrees with me, so that's all that matters. Okay, I'll just do it. Why do people put really arbitrary dates on social media? Like blank and blank happened exactly 6 years, 6 months, and 7 days ago. And you're like, that's not exactly. That's not an interesting timeline whatsoever. It's either a month or a year or a week. I don't care. Round it off. Okay, that's done. So my mom died exactly 9 years and 1 day ago. And so anyway, this is like a very it's well documented on this show. I am not a huge fan of feeling anything. I like to just think and just walk through life, never feeling, only thinking, and then I die. That's the goal. And but this movie obviously because of what it is, and it had a different ending than I expected and everything, but because of what it is and the timing of it, unfortunately with me seeing it was really emotional for me. And really, and I want to know from you guys, was that me or was it effective on that? Was that just something I brought to it, or did it really pull that off? Because that's a tough thing to pull off.
Yeah, I mean, it was for me. For me, it was I lost both my grandparents last year, and that was it. Exactly, and so I was very close to my grandmother growing up, especially, and I thought Aquafina did an incredible job displaying that end of the relationship. And then I'm looking up the grandmother's name.
They call her Nai Nai.
Nai Nai, Shuzhen Zhao. She was magnificent too. I think, boy, she may be looking at some awards buzz come into the year too. She was outstanding. So it was just, for me, it's like I remember when I saw Coco and we reviewed that, and that came out over Thanksgiving break, I think of around Thanksgiving 2017, and my grandmother was here. That turned out to be like the last holiday season that we had with her, and and then I went and saw Coco like a day later, and I just like bawled the entire time because I could see my grandmother in Abuelita so clearly, and this was kind of similar. It was not to make the movie about myself, but we all kind of do that. You bring your own stuff into a movie, whether you're going to see something like this or whatever the Gerard Butler movie is called next week that we get to review. That'll be a fun. We're gonna majorly get the bends coming from that, from the farewell to that. Can't wait. But yeah, I mean, you kind of bring your own perspective and worldview and background and whatever into that. And that's sitting there watching that, and I very much felt Aquafina's side of things, and I felt like I could see my own grandmother in Nai Nai, and it was a really beautiful, touching way to put both of those characters, I think, on screen, and done really, really well. And I really like what you said, like you're spot on that. As much as like I'm trying to remember exactly how you said it, but that this isn't really an Asian movie, right? The culture certainly is, and it's focused on the Chinese side of things. I'm probably butchering how I'm trying to say this, but the story kind of transcends culture and whatever that goes in it, and it's a very normal, natural story, right? Like this is a thing that we're all having to deal with on some level, and so I love, again, kind of touching on what you said here, I love that Lulu Wang and A24 that they did it this way, that they didn't cheapen that with, well, we got to make sure there's a white guy or a white girl or somebody in there so that the white people will go see it and stuff, because it would have lost, I think, a little bit of the emotion, and it would have lost some of the value that it has because it just seems so real and organic, and
It's
it
genuine.
just was very easy. It's very genuine, and I'll pass it out. It was very easy for me to kind of see myself in the Aquafina role and see my own grandmother in Nine Nine and stuff, and so I love that. I think great movies should do that. You know, you should certainly this kind of movie, especially you should be able to see yourself in those characters and kind of put yourselves in their shoes, I guess, because that's kind of how it opens you up to experience the movie. You know, not just sit there and laugh or sit there and cry or whatever, to really be a part, to feel like you're a part of the movie. I thought it was done perfectly on that front. So, but maybe you have better insight on that, my friend.
Yeah, so this is like this movie, like it's a very simple like dramedy. It's like they're telling a story about family and grief, right? And family and illness and stuff like that. And just like Always Be My Maybe, like if you wrote the concept on paper, it's largely unremarkable, and it's the details that make it this Asian American story, but at the core, it's reflective of real life. And so, if this was some, really like corny Korean drama, I don't want to use corny, but or like really like stylized like Chinese movie, or if Hollywood got what they wanted and this was like a pure comedy, right? Like you're seeing these people on screen and you are just looking at a story, but now you're seeing like a reflection of real life, and everybody can relate to the grief. And one of the things that I loved about the movie is that there are certain moments where the family, in this really trying time of like tough emotional like slog, like they're making jokes and they're laughing, right? And my fondest memories in times of sadness when family members have died, as everybody experiences, is when you like make a joke in that moment, right? You laugh with the person that's sick, or you reminisce about a person that's died. And I just felt it was so genuine, and it's Lulu Wang saying like, this is my story, and my story is not it's not more remarkable than yours. I'm telling it in a remarkable way because I'm talented, but this is my life. And so, a lot of people, not just white, a lot of people struggle to relate to things that aren't exactly in their box.
Sure.
And it's really frustrating because as a minority, and I'm speaking of myself, if you are black, if you are Latino, if you are queer of some way, if you are non-binary, anything, if you are not in the main box, right, you've had to do this your whole life. And for someone like you, Brian, to be like, yeah, of course I relate to Billy. Of course I relate to I relate my grandmother to Nine. Like that's what everybody has to do all the time with movies. And it's so weird how like the criticism of this film is like, I couldn't get past the cultural differences. Like, well, you're a bad movie watcher, right? Yeah. So it's like, it was so weird to me that was like the main criticism of the film. It's like, I just couldn't get, like, the movie's in Chinese. What do I have to wear, like, glasses? It's like, yes.
I don't have to read
my
you gotta... text back to
you. But yeah, I think since it's so genuine, and since she was unwavering in her desire to get this film made in the way that she needed it to be made, right? Otherwise it wasn't going to be done. Yeah. Like the film is brilliant because of it, and it just speaks to so many more people.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree.
Totally disagree. No. So no, I think that's really, really astute and smart. As a movie, though, okay, so let's move around all the representation issues. And Brian touched on this a lot. It really works, and so narratively, we'll kind of cut towards the end of here. There's a bit of kind of not so much a twist, but that goes in areas you didn't really expect outside the performances. Narratively, did that work for you, Brian?
Yeah, I did. It did. I think. Ariel, you said, and I told you, it's a very simple plot. The plot is almost non-existent. It's a
concept.
You can summarize this movie in 2 sentences, and and then you just get to kind of ruminate with the characters and go through the experience and stuff. And then I think that's great. Like that works. That's all it needed. It didn't need to be tricked up, and I love that went that direction. But yeah, man, Richard, I loved it. I thought that it moved at a great pace. You don't have too much. For a movie that has as little plot as this does, it really moves pretty well. It's not stagnant, right? And I think that sometimes does happen with movies that are less plot driven and more character or setting driven, and that's a big part of this is just the setting and seeing the area and stuff. I mean, that's a big part. Sometimes you get the movies like that. It's like, man, it was good, but it kind of dragged at points, and this doesn't. It moves at a really nice clip, and you never. If anything, there were times when I was like, I kind of would like for it to rest a little bit, and let's kind of explore. Let's get a little deeper into the family dynamic, or let's see a little bit more of the dad, you know, and the way that. But if I had a criticism, that would probably be it. Is almost, and that's very rare for us, right? Like we're always coming on here like, please cut 30 minutes out of this movie. This one is one that could have used, maybe for me at least, could have maybe used 10 more minutes of runtime to kind of flesh out a little bit of those characters. But it's fine, and it's very well paced. So you really don't even, for me at least, I didn't even really notice that until I got out of the movie, and then thought, gosh, I kind of would have liked to been there a little bit longer and stayed in that family.
Yeah, there's a, before I let you in, Richard,
no,
there's a really great Kurt Vonnegut quote, and I don't quite have the exact quote, but it says a sentence, like every sentence in your book should do one of two things. It should either advance the plot or like deepen the character or something like that. And like every single scene, there's not a single moment wasted where they're not telling you something about Billy's experience or the family's experience as a whole, or they're moving like this very simple plot forward. And I think it was just like this really like tight story that needed to be just one scene after another. We're just going to keep moving at this really nice pace. But like you said, every scene and every sentence like did one of those two things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's no wasted scenes, no wasted lines, nothing, and it moves at a really good clip. So I thought that was great, and I liked too. This is kind of off from what you were asking, Richard, but I liked that it wasn't completely focused on Billy, and I think that's what I expected going in, and maybe that's just because that's typically what we get from a Hollywood movie, especially, and this really is not a Hollywood movie, so maybe that's the whole thing. But I really, you know, if I'm trying to think how to put that, if she does not get an Oscar nomination, to me it probably comes down, and it's hard to say in August. So one reason could be that between now and December 31st. We just get 5 banging performances, and you know, and okay,
it happens.
It happens. It is what it is. If we don't get 5 banging performances and she still doesn't get a nomination, I think it will be due to the fact that the movie doesn't play to her and doesn't focus so exclusively on her the way I think you would if this movie was made truly within, you know, the Hollywood ecosystem. And again, I think the movie is better for that, and I loved that. I thought it was it's not unique, but it is fresh and a little bit different from what we typically get. But it may which it would be strange if it ultimately cost her, you know, individual glory opportunity. But for the film, it's totally worth it. I think I really expect. My wife went and saw this before I did, which I don't know, maybe for the first time ever. She saw a movie before I did, and she kind of said the same thing. She was like, it doesn't really focus all that much on her, and I found that to be like, well, that's crazy.
She saw
that's
Chappie
not,
before you.
I mean, she did. She's a big Diary Antwoord.
Brian, that's a reflection.
That's so much fun if you know Brian's wife. I just have to say that's a great joke by Brian, and I want to hear your thoughts now, so I'll shut up. But that's well done.
So the fact that it doesn't focus on Billy exclusively, it's a reflection of what, and this isn't really spoiler. It's a reflection of what the uncle says to her in that moment, They're by the window. He's with
Yeah.
he's with Billy's dad, and he tells him, like, and this is not a spoiler, like, Chinese culture, Asian American culture, my culture, Filipinos included. It's like, it's not about you. It's about the family. It's about how the family reacts and how you can conform and how you can do what's best for the family. And so the movie doesn't, like, the movie goes against its own theme if it tries to focus on Billy and her relationship to the family, like, the whole time. You have to get like little pieces of the family as a whole.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, but I love that. I thought it was you're spot on. It works within the theme of the film, and it also works kind of narratively, and just it's, I don't know. It was just different than. It's definitely a much different film experience than you would get if it was created within, the very specific ecosystem that most movies that we see are created in. I mean, that's just, I don't think there's any way around it. So, like I said, I expected Billy to be just 80% of screen time because that's what we're kind of used to, and instead, I thought Sai Mao, who is awesome. He's always awesome in, like, whatever show or movie he's in. I always really dig that guy, and this was like a really just for me at least, maybe the first time that you get to see him as a person, not just random character in. I don't know. He's probably been in The West Wing. He seems like he would, somebody that just, like, shows up, a character actor. He really brought it here and was great. And again, Nine was awesome. All the characters there were really, some very fun and some very touching, and just really had more to do with how this movie moves, the plot and the narrative and the way that the movie moves forward than just the main character. Despite how very, very good Aquafina was in that role, and how affecting and empathetic that character is.
Totally agree. So you guys want to grade this bad boy out?
Yeah, I think so.
Go
I
ahead,
just wanted-
when we get to,
Yeah, I just want to do, like, say one more thing about the movie that was, I think, really important, and like the crux of, like, the message of the movie. It's, and I just mentioned it with, like, the uncle and the dad talking to Aquafina. Like, the movie is not about, spoiler alert, like, the grandmother is sick, Nai is sick, and then they don't want to tell her. And so a lot of people are thinking about, this is the movie about her dealing with her grandmother being sick. But really the movie is like, the movie makes it a point to tell you that Billy is struggling with like living in America and expecting to be an American young adult. She's, I think, 30, the character, while butting heads with every single member of her family who's expecting her to act like a traditional Asian family. And so, like, if you're listening to this and you haven't watched the film, like, pay attention to that. How she talks to her mom, how she talks to her uncle, how she talks to her grandmother. And dear Lord, if you're watching this film and you're laughing at things that are just cultural differences, like, just take a look in the mirror. A friend of mine went to watch the movie. He said people were laughing at the fact that there was the cupping massages. People were laughing when her aunt was talking about not seeing her husband. People were laughing at the fact that you have to, like, boil the water. Like, just like, it's like you're laughing because they're in China and not, like, funny moments like the karaoke or even, like, when the uncle's giving the speech and, like, the camera pans out and, like, nobody's paying attention. Like, that's funny. It's in its sadness, but, like, I think if you're watching this movie, like my main point, like, you have to pay attention to what Billy's experience is dealing with a culture that is supposed to be hers and she knows nothing about. And if you are an Asian person, or if you are an African American, if you are Latino American, if you're any other ethnicity, even if you are, like, first generation Russian and you tried to go back to Russia and you're trying, like, or Italy, whatever, like that, like, you have no idea how to live in that culture. But since you look like everybody there, you are expected to. And that's something I struggle. Like, I went to the Philippines. I've been there, I think, 3 times now. And, like, even there, I'm just like, man, I could never, ever live here. And so for Billy to feel so othered there, and I think you get this a lot in, like, even in Crazy Rich Asians, where the character's like, man, I don't feel completely at home in America because I look different than 90% of the population, and I don't feel comfortable here because I act different than 99.99% of the population, and that is like the cultural message that Lulu Wang's trying to convey here in the film. I think it's apparent because of like I said, the scenes that give you depth of the character, those are all focused on those moments. And so if you want to give us a chance, I think the film is shot beautifully. I think it's scored beautifully. I think the acting is really good all around.
Agreed.
So there's so much worth in the technical parts, and then you perhaps may learn something culturally, because God forbid you learn something from movies.
Totally agree. And to build on that point, mega. So I just wanted to break Brian there. All right. So that's really, really astute. And this is a universal movie. And so when we talk about like the Asian American experience, that is not an exclusive. That is an inclusive thing, right? We can all learn something and feel something from this. I'm like so Irish and white. It couldn't even be. I haven't talked about this in the show. I did my father got me the Ancestry DNA kit, and I literally came back 100% Irish. From the same 3 towns, which is you can make all the jokes you want about my inbred nature. So I'm about as white as one can be, and this is a human story, and that's what we learn, and what media across all things should show us is that we're all the same. We all have similar experiences and emotions and things, and that's what makes humanity. We are all in this together, and all this other crap, and it is literally just crap, is just to make us feel different, and what really matters in life and in your family is really across the board. So what's great about this is it's so inclusive of a new community that is, as Ariel said, relatively new to cinema and culture at large. But what's also great about it is how inclusive it is to all of us, regardless of our experience. We all will find something in this that feels. So, let's grade this out, and I'm going to take all the social part out of this and just grade it as a movie. It's a really good movie. We didn't talk about that enough. Probably it's really good and funny and smart and moving and all those things. So I'm going to give this a solid, just straight down the line A. Brian, what about you?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I do feel like this is one that's gonna be one that I'm thinking about in a couple of weeks, and not just, oh, that was good, and then walking away. And so I'm very curious for just internally for where this will end up in my my end of the year rankings, because we haven't seen this movie. This year has sucked. We've seen a lot of B- or worse movies, and I'm kind of looking ahead at the slate. I'm like, gosh, I don't know. There's just not a lot out there that I am super pumped about and enthusiastic about. So, this could be a movie that in a month or two, when I'm still kind of thinking about it, and some of the scenes are still sticking out as very lifelike, still, could even come up a bit. So anyway, for me, it's a straight A. And I feel like probably there might be room for growth on that. But yeah, dude, I really, really, really dug it, and I just think I hope people will get out and see it. I don't think it's gonna be in theaters much longer. There was only 2 showings at my theater this week, so it may be about done with its theatrical run. But this will play. The best thing about a movie like this, and then I'll pass off the grade. Just from from a movie standpoint, is it's gonna play just as well on your home 40-inch TV as it will on a big screen, and maybe better because you won't have to deal with olds like I did in my 2:00 showing today. That just talk the whole time. But And
That's a
that
group
will,
we can all agree on hating, right? In the podcast community, racism is so over, but ageism is back in, and let's get rid of the olds in the movie
yeah,
theater.
It's very popular.
Finally, a
amongst this
majority.
demographic.
Yeah, we did it, guys.
Finally, I'm there.
Logan's run.
But anyway, to finish, my point on that is just it's gonna. I think this has second life that some movies, even small movies, big, it doesn't really matter. A lot of movies don't quite get in 2019. This has a chance to be a real player on demand and whatnot come like November, and into December. It has a chance to really ramp up into award season. Whereas other movies don't, because it's going to play really well on screeners and stuff. So anyway, definitely check it out. If you can't get to it in theaters this week, I hope you will take the time to rent or buy or whatever, however you watch movies at home. So do that. Ariel, what about you, man? What's your grade?
I'm gonna factor in my bias and give it an A+. I think as a movie, it's
Wow,
it's
I'm
at
offended.
least an A. I think there's just so much good with it. But yeah, at the end of the year, this might be fighting with cats for my my number one film.
God bless you, brother. That's
It's the one thing this movie is missing is real fur technology
Right,
or whatever
yeah.
it's called.
I yelled that at the old in my screening. So that's what sucks, man. You go see a movie that's a little off the beaten path, in terms of release, and then you go, who sees this movie besides someone that does a podcast? And the answer, unfortunately, is retired people, and they have no etiquette. All right.
I had to go all the way to like New York City. Like I had to like take a train and stuff like that.
Wow.
And I still got like the cell phone like brightness in my face trying to watch
the
it.
worst.
Such a beating.
Brian and I, the rare time, us in the Central Time Zone had it easier than you. It was down the.
Well, I watched it. I watched it like when it first came out, when the limited release came out.
Humble
so.
brag. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, all right, Ariel.
He flew to Minneapolis.
Yeah, on a purple Prince jet. All right, Ariel. If I was looking for you, and if I were to come in and say, "Man, this guy knows what he's talking about," where would I find more of your Ariel branded content?
You can find me on Twitter at DreadPirateRada. I've been ramping up my writing quite a bit at arielrada.com. So if you want to read about Asian things and whether or not you should watch Gravity Falls, you can go on arielrada.com.
Define Asian. No, I'm kidding.
What a crossover.
No, all right, Brian. Where can I find you, brother?
You can find me on the Twitter, bgill12. You can find my writing at madaboutmoviespodcast.com and the Mad About Movies podcast newsletter. Richard, where can we
And
find you?
Ariel oftentimes, isn't that
Yeah,
very?
he's a frequent contributor.
Much more than myself or Kent. But I have something cooking, Brian. I think you're gonna dig for the newsletter. So we'll see. You can find me on social at Richard Barden on Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. Snapchat, you can follow me. I'm never going to snap, and please don't send me snaps because then I have that stupid red one, notification thing, and I have to look at it, and I just end up hating you. So don't do that. Just follow me on Instagram and Twitter and all that good stuff. All right, gentlemen, this was a good episode. I enjoyed this quite a bit. We've got some great content coming both on this feed and the VIP feed. Once again, don't forget that VIP feed. And Ariel, why don't we go back in time? Actually, we don't have to do that anymore because it's a separate feed. Why don't you stick around for a little bit of movie news? Does that sound good?
Will do.
All right, brother. Awesome. Well, until next time, we will see you at the cinema with a bunch of oldies.
Hey baby, I hear the blues are calling, tossed salads and scrambled eggs. And maybe I seem a bit confused. Yeah, maybe, but I got you pegged. But I don't know what to do with those tossed salads and scrambled eggs. They're calling again. Scrambled eggs all over my face.
They're making me yah-yah, your salads and scrambled eggs.
They're calling again.